Hi, my name is Michelle and I'm the founder of BIV Foods. At BIV, we use fungi to convert food industry wastewater into low-carb, high-protein food products. And we're starting with flour-based products. We want people to be able to indulge in the foods that they love the most and can't avoid and crave the most without the feeling of restriction and without developing chronic disease like diabetes in the future. We wanna solve this problem for consumers, this refined carbohydrate problem, while introducing consumers to this new way of eating with higher protein that doesn't come from an animal. Now, BIV was conceived in a time where COVID really made me reflect on the purpose of my personal and professional lives. And in a kind of non-traditional fashion, I was in the oil and gas industry. I worked in oil and gas as a chemical engineer for 10 years. I was the wastewater treatment engineer running this relatively small wastewater plant in the grand scheme of things across different industries. And I realized how much waste, literal organic waste, is generated by cleaning water. The way that we clean water is biological. It's kind of like all this fun fermentation technology that we're talking about, but at a large scale. So we use bacteria and we use actually some filamentous fungi to physically consume contaminants in water. And what are the byproducts? Clean water, greenhouse gases, lots of biomass. So these microbes are reproducing like crazy. And what you do is that you take these microbes and you dump them to a landfill. And to give you just kind of scale perspective, we cleaned 5 million gallons of water a day and we produced 50,000 pounds of organic waste and we dumped that to the landfill. That's the equivalent of 4,000 pounds of methane that we contributed as a very small plant every single day. The food industry is the third largest source of wastewater in the world, and it produces wastewater that can be 200 times more concentrated than a gas refinery wastewater treatment plant. That means that there is a huge opportunity with perfectly edible types of wastewater to produce materials that have significantly lower environmental impact. And so around the same time, COVID hit, and I went home and spent time with my family with this idea that, hey, I'm working in this space and there's kind of a big inefficiency that we should start thinking about taking advantage of. I go home, I spend some time with my family, and what used to be some of the most special bonding time for us, especially in Ecuadorian culture, dining together, had gone from being super happy and bonding moments to very stressful conversations about health. Why? Because during COVID, we were all thinking about whether or not we were risk factors, whether or not, our long-term health was going to be okay. And my mom being pre-diabetic became a major topic of conversation. And so for us, food became something difficult to talk about because in every plate that we would eat, there was refined carbohydrates. It almost seemed like it was impossible to avoid refined carbohydrates without feeling like you were on some kind of crazy restrictive diet. So I paired these two pieces together. Like, hey, people have a problem where we don't have actually healthy sources of culturally ingrained foods. We need new sources of alternative proteins, and we have a very wasteful type of water cleaning mechanism. Why don't we combine all of these together and say, you know what, go ahead and eat that mac and cheese. It has just as much chicken, just don't cook chicken on the side.